last week I sent you a file for a file handling, no, a file handler, and then this is the actual file. Okay? So now I'm going to just discuss paano gumagana itong file handler natin. So of course, ito yung mga OOP basics natin, di ba? Yung mga concepts natin are applied to this file as well. Okay? So since we already tackled the concepts of object-oriented programming, then we're going to apply those no as well no sa lahat ng mga programs natin in the future. And not just in Comprog 2, no. You are going to apply OOP in all of your programs in the future. Okay? Kasi in the industry, no one is doing procedural programming. Okay? Walang nagpo-procedural programming. Okay? So, as of now, first year pa lang kayo, and even malapit na kayo mag-second year, no? You have to be able to master OOP. Okay? Actually, next sem naman, you have a subject, no? You have a course which is actually object-oriented programming. Okay? It's your elective one, eh. So, if ever na hindi nyo pa nagigets fully, no? Yun yung magiging gateway nyo, no? To master object-oriented programming. Okay? So, sige, tuloy na tayo dito. So, we have a class here, a class file handler, no? Para ma-handle natin yung objects or the instantiation of the file handler. Okay? So, here we have an encapsulated file name, no? Naka-private na siya. And then, we just have to create a constructor method para if ever na ma-instantiate natin yung file, let's see here. Ayan, instantiate natin yung file dito, no? We can give the file name. Okay? So, ito yan. So, again, the class file handler is instantiated sa ating main method. Binigyan natin ng object name, which is file handler. And then, we gave an argument to the parameter file name. Okay, so 14.text. Okay, so from that, may ibibigay natin ang 14.text. Ayan, nandito siya. And it is given, it's assigned to this that file name. Ano ba yung this that file name ulit when it comes to encapsulation? It's the property. Okay? So again, the 14.text ay ginamit as argument dito sa ating parameter na file name. Ito yon. And it's given to the property of the class. Okay? Which is this one. Okay? So again, now, let's just have a quick review of bakit nga ba tayo umiikot pa when it comes to giving the arguments or the values for such properties, no? Or variables. Kasi we have to encapsulate it. Okay? This is private. We cannot access it directly unless gamitin natin si this. Okay? So you have to use the setters and getters or a constructor. Okay? So for this, we used a constructor para directly ma-access ang ating file name. Okay? So after that, we have to create a of course, we have to create a CRUD functionality, no? Ano ba yung CRUD functionality ulit? Si CRUD functionality ay create, read, update, and then delete, no? But I think at this point, oh yes, nakapag-edit tayo. Okay? So, sige, tuloy tayo, no? This method, no, from the name itself, binigyan natin ng identifier na create file. Then, ano pag sabihin niyan? It's going to create a file. Okay? Anong file yung kay-create niya? Anong file name? Ito yun. Okay? We already given the argument 14.text, no? Binigay na natin dito kay private string file name. Okay? So, the value is 14.text as of now. Okay? So, now, we're going to use a try-catch, no? A try-catch to catch such exceptions if ever na makita natin itong mga to. Okay? So, here inside the try, we try, no? We try to create a file. So, we use the class file, no? Under the input-output package, okay? The java.io package. So, si IO is input-output, and then we use the asterisk para magamit natin si buffered writer, magamit natin si file writer, magamit natin si file reader, and then si buffered reader, as well as si file. Okay? So, si file, ginamit natin. We gave it file as well for the identifier, no, or the object name. And then, binigyan natin siya ng new file with the file name as its parameter. Okay? So, i-create niya na ba yung file na ito? As of now, no. Okay? Hindi pa. Saan niya i-create? Pupunta tayo kay line 13. Okay? Si line 13, gumamit siya ditong file.new create file. No? Anong pagsabihin yan? Si file is equal to new file name. Ang ginagawa lang nito is pinaprocess niya, no, yung file name into a file path. No? Kapag nasa Windows tayo, no, as of now nasa MacBook tayo or nasa Mac, it's actually a bit different, no, when it comes to accessing directories and files, no. Kung natutunan nyo sa SAM or sa System Administration and Maintenance, we have different root folders, no. Sa Linux natin or Ubuntu, we have the root, no, as the root folder as well. In Windows, we could have C, no. Ito yung ating Windows hard disk kung saan nakalagay si Windows. Ayan. And even sa ating ibang partitions ng hard drive, no, meron tayong D. Ayan, ito yung mga disk name natin, okay? So ito yung mga binibigyan natin ng pangalan in order to arrange kung ano yung ina-access natin na drive. Okay? So this time, ulit natin pinrocess lang natin si file name so that we could give it, no, to the file itself. So ano pagsabihin nito? Si new file, file name, ito yon. So pagsabihin new file, file name dot create new file. Okay? So in order to create a new file, we have to access it through the file class. Okay? So si create new file is a method that we use in order to create a file if ever na hindi pa siya nag-e-exist. Ayan. So makikita natin dito sa returns, returns true. So ano pagsabihin? The return type of the file class or the create new file is boolean. Okay? True or false to. So true ang kanyang i-return if the named file does not exist and was successfully created, and then false, no, if the named file already exists. Okay? So with this, no, because it's boolean, no, mas maganda siya kasi boolean siya eh. We can enclose it in an if else or condition, no? Na-enclose na natin siya dito sa parameter ng if. Okay? So if it's true, ano pagsabihin nun? If true ang kalabasan nito, anong ulit pagsabihin? Sige. If true, pagsabihin, yung file ay hindi pa nag-exist before. And then, na-create natin siya. Okay? So, ito yung way natin to know, no, to validate if the file is not existing yet. Okay? Hindi pa siya nag-exist dun sa drive, doon sa folder na pinag-createan mo, or na-create din ba yung file, no? If it does not exist yet. Okay? So, kapag nag-true to, we're going to display that the file has been created, and then we're going to use the getName method para makuha natin kung ano yung file name. Okay? Actually, the getName lang naman is also the file name, no? Yan lang naman yun. Okay? So, gina-getName niya, it's actually given to the property of the file, no? Binibigyan lang natin yung property. And then we use the internal getters of file, no, para makuha lang natin yung private property na file name. Diba? So it's just the same. Now, if ever na mag-else siya, bakit kaya nag-else? What's the use of else? Kaya nag-if tayo, if true. No? Pag sabihin, it has been created, it does not exist yet before creating it. So, ano pag sabihin kapag nag-else? Okay, so, if ever na mag-else siya, pag sabihin, the file already exists, or, no? Okay, may or tayo. Ito yun. So, it could be that the file exists, no? Nag-exist na siya. It existed before creating it, or it was not successfully created. Okay? Nagkaroon ng rejection. So, if ever na yung RAM natin is puno na, or yung ating disk is puno na, no? Hindi tayo makakapag-create ng file. Okay? Ano pa? If ever the file, the directory does not exist. Okay, saan mo siya lalagay? It does not exist in the given folder. No, kung saan ka gumagawa ng program. Ano pa? If ever na nagkaroon ng problema sa creation, kunyari yung folder na yon, it does not give permission, no, for the Java or for the user to create such file doon sa directory na yon. Anong example nito? Sa C, no? Sa C mismo, sa C drive. Ito yung C drive na sinasabi ko. Okay? Sa C drive, if ever na you're just a user, you cannot create files. Hindi ka pwede mag-create ng files doon. Okay? You can do so by having installers para ma-install natin or makapaglagay tayo ng programs or files and directories doon sa C drive. Okay? So, sometimes it also requires admin privileges nga, di ba? Para makapag-install tayo. So, it's just the same, no? Dito. So, if ever that those parameters exists, no, meron tayong mga privileges that are not overridden, no, hindi natin ma-override kasi admin lang yung pwede. The privileges of the user as of now is just read and execute. Hindi tayo makapag-write. So, at that moment, we cannot create new files. Okay? So, dito papasok yun sa else. Okay? So, anong gagawin niya? If ever that the file has not been created, it's going to display that the file already exists. No? Actually, this is very generic eh. Pwede natin lagay dito na file already exists or file file was not created. Yeah. So this is a more generic response, no? Mas maganda siyang response. It's very general. It was not created because of a number of possibilities. Okay? Okay. So from that, bakit kaya tayo kailangan mag-catch? Bakit nga ba? Okay? Because of this, ito yung problem kasi natin eh, 'di ba? When we are using the file name, no, as a parameter dito sa file natin, it's already accessing your directory, no? Ina-access niya na yung directory. Nag-e-exist ba to? Pwede man natin siyang i-create. If ever that the given file name is an absolute reference, o ano yung absolute reference? From your sum, again, no? Absolute reference. Ano ba yung absolute reference as opposed to relative reference? Okay? Si absolute reference, we are using this, no? If ever that the directory is from the root folder to the file that you are creating, no? So, kunyari, galing dito sa desktop. Kunyari, ganyan. And then, the 14.txt. Ayan. Okay? But, if you want to create the file using relative referencing, sabihin, you are trying to create a file relative to where you are right now. Okay? Ano bang directory yung nasan ka ngayon? Okay? If ever, let's say, nasa downloads tayo ngayon, pupunta tayo kay desktop. Okay? Sabihin lang natin na si desktop and downloads is inside the C directory, no? Hindi na tayo papasok sa users. Let's just create. No? Kunyari, downloads. Kunyari, ganyan lang muna. Downloads.14 docs. Sorry, nandito tayo sa file handler main. Kunyari, nandito lang muna tayo at Java. Ayan, nandito tayo as of now. So, nasa loob tayo ng downloads directory and we want to go to the desktop. Okay? So, what I want to do or what we need to do is to use this and then that. No? Ignore muna natin yung mga mga lumalabas. Okay, so this is used para makabalik tayo ng directory, no? Makaakyat tayo. So from this, let's say downloads to, aakyat siya ng ano? Okay, aakyat siya ng C. Okay? So right now, this is how we're going to get up, no, dun sa ating directory or sa directory 3, dun sa 3 natin. Okay? So ngayon nasa C na tayo, we're going to desktop. Okay, and then 14.txt. So, this is how we reference, no? If ever na meron tayong absolute referencing and relative referencing. Now, how does it apply? Sige, hindi ko muna delete. How does it apply to our line 14 here? No? When we are creating such files or when we are accessing the files through the directory, pag nakita natin to, or if ever na nakita natin to, paano kapag si compiler hindi niya makita si desktop or hindi niya makita si downloads? Okay? Hindi niya makita si C kasi yun pala ang ginamit mo dito is D na imbis na C. Dun ka nagke-create. So of course, it's not going to find anything. Sasabihin nito na the directory does not exist. Okay? Ano pa? There are such times na nag-exist yung directory pero again, yung ating privileges to read, no? To read the directory is not given. Okay? If ever na yung kunyari yung umask, no, when we are creating files or directories, nakatanggal yung read. No, hindi pala siya accessible for you. Nakita natin yung file, no, it exist, but for the Java or for the user, no, hindi siya accessible. Okay? So, there will be an exception na hindi tayo pwedeng mag-access ng directory na to. Hindi tayo pwedeng maglagay ng file dito. Okay? Hindi niya ma-access, hindi siya privileged enough. Okay? Hindi siya binigyan ng privileges. Ano ba yung privileges natin? Si read, write, and execute. Okay? So, balik tayo dito. Now that the file has been cached, no, yung file name natin, which is if ever na hindi siya nag-exist, na-catch na natin siya, it will go to the IO exception. Ito yung input-output exception natin. Okay? So here, we just created an instance, no? An instantiation of the IO exception with a variable E. Okay? So since variable siya, pwede natin siyang bago-baguhin. Okay? So as of now, pagbaba dito sa line 22, it's going to display, no? Baka magulat kayo, system error na nakalagay dito. So si system out and then si system error, no? Part siya ng system class or the system para makapag-output tayo. Okay? Pwede makapag-input, pwede makapag-output. And even si system.in, ito nga yung ginagamit natin sa scanner. Diba? So we can output or we can just store the data. No? Ini-store natin yung inputs natin doon sa system.in, ini-store natin yung outputs natin doon sa system.out, and then ini-store din natin yung ating errors doon sa system.err. Okay? So, there's just a separation. No? Binibigyan na natin siya ng separation para hindi maguluhan si Java kung ano yung ini-store niya. Okay? So, ngayon, an error occurred while creating the file, and then nag-concatenate siya dun sa e.getMessage. Okay? So, if ever na si IO exception throws, no, nag-throw siya, nagbato siya ng error or exception, ito yung kukuha nun. Okay? So, gumamit din tayo ng getters dito, internal getters of the IO exception para ma-return natin yung error, no, if ever na nag-exist siya. Okay? So, this will not actually output or hindi natin to i-compile if ever that the statements inside that try, no, are actually okay, no? Nag-success siya eh. Wala namang problema pala. So, wala na siyang paki dito. Okay? It will not run the catch. Wala na siyang titignan dyan. Okay. So, tapos na tayo sa creation ng file. Let's just say that the file has been created. Pwede na tayong mag-create ng method to write to file. Okay? So, string content. Bakit content? Because this is the content that or the payload or the string that the user is going to input. Ito yung ilalagay ni user. Okay? So, for that, of course, we're going to use the try-catch na naman, no? For exception handling. And then, ito yung medyo tricky, guys. Gumamit tayo ng buffered writer dito as a class, no? But the parameter of the buffered writer is actually a file writer as well, no? So, baka naguguluhan kayo. Bakit kaya yung parameter naging file writer? Ang gulo naman. Okay? Ang kaibahan, si buffered writer kasi is used for an individual buffering, no? Ito yung individual writing to the file. Mas mabusisi siya. Okay? Individual yung way niya ng pag-write ng file. Okay? But in file writer kasi, si file writer is used, no? If ever that you're going to write a block of string doon sa ating file, isahan lang siya. So, the whole content is going to be written using the file writer. But, in buffered writer, it's going to write line by line. Okay? So, yun yung kaibahan niya. Now, bakit kaya ginamit natin na parameter? Si file writer. Okay? Since si file writer, it's going to compile the whole content, no, by itself. Yung whole content na yon is given as a parameter doon sa ating buffered writer. Anong pagsabihin nun? Yung buo, let's say, si picture natin is buo. Say lang picture, buo siya. Ang gagawin ni buffered writer, iisa-isahin niya yung bawat lines ng picture para mailagay niya doon sa file. Okay? So, iisa-isahin niya, gagawin niyang buo. Okay? Anong unahin? Gagawin niyang buo, iisa-isahin niya. Okay? So, from that, no, nakuha na natin yung content. Ito na yon as parameter. We are going to use the write method of the buffered writer. Okay? Ito yung gagamitin natin, ha? So, lalagay lang natin dito si content. So, it's a string. Okay? So, ito yung mga parameters niya. So, parameter is string to be written. Okay? So, string lang ang pwede nating ilagay dito. Okay? Wala naman siyang ibang possibilities dito. Okay? So, string lang siya. So, from that, gagamit din tayo ng new line method para, if ever na maglagay tayo ng, let's say, hello. Yan, ni-write natin sa file. Pag nag-new line tayo, parang naglagay din tayo ng ganyan. Ano pagsabihin nun? Bababa lang siya dito. Okay? If ever na mag-write again tayo doon sa file, let's say, world naman ang ilagay natin, bababa lang siya. Okay? So, because of the new line, hindi siya magtutuloy-tuloy na ganyan. Yan, hindi siya magtutuloy-tuloy na ganyan. Bababa lang siya. Okay? So, ano yung mga tendencies naman para mag-error or magkaroon ng exception dito? Okay? If ever again, no, we are using the file writer, pag sabihin, ginagamit natin si file as a parameter doon sa file writer. If ever na hindi ma-access si file, katulad nun sa create new file, it will throw an exception. Okay? Ito pa pala. Another parameter of the file writer is an append. Append. Pag sabihin ng append, magdadagdag tayo. Okay? We're just going to update the current file. Pag sabihin nun, pag nag-true si append, sabihin we are just updating the file. Okay? We are not rewriting the file. We are just updating it. So, kapag meron siyang hello, nyari, meron ng laman doon. Ang gagawin ko na lang, since nag-new line ako dito, di ba? Nag-write again ako ng file, nakita niya yung append ay true. Naglagay ako ng content na world, bababa lang siya dito. Okay? Again, bababa lang siya dito. Hindi niya i-rewrite yung buong file para ma-write yung world. Okay? Hindi niya gagawin yun. Kailan mangyayari yun, guys? Kapag ang append natin ay naka-false. Okay? Let's say meron ng hello doon sa loob. Gusto mong i-write yung, kunyari ganyan, di ba? Kasi naka-new line siya tama? Now, naka-false na si append Ang mangyayari, yung hello na nandoon sa loob ng ating file ay madidelete. Madidelete yan. So, ito yung kakalabasan. Okay? Imbes na hello world, magiging world na lang siya. Okay? So, yun yung sense. Bakit tayo may append dito? So, let's just rewrite it to true. Okay. So, baba na tayo dito. Kanina, nakapag-create tayo. We just created the file. We also created the content, no, using the write to file. And then now, we're just going to read it. Okay? Kaya nag-create lang tayo. Ngayon, babasahin na natin yung kinreate natin. Or, if ever na meron na talagang content yung ating file. Okay? So, we use the display file content as the identifier for this method para maintindihan nyo lang. Okay? So, of course, maguluhan lang kayo, magkaiba yan, buffered writer dito to write, and then buffered reader naman to read. Okay? So, ayan. So, dito rin, ginamit natin as parameter si file reader, and then file name, wala na tayong append dito because we are just reading from the file. Okay? Si append ginagamit lang natin as parameter para malaman lang ni buffered writer, ni file writer, kung mag-a-update lang ba tayo or magre-recreate or magre-rewrite ng file. Okay? But since we are just reading, dito, nagre-read lang naman tayo, binabasa lang naman natin, hindi natin siya ina-update, hindi natin siya ginagalaw. Okay? Binabasa lang natin siya. So, ang ating parameter ay isa lang. Nag-iisa lang siya. So, file reader, ang ating parameter ay file name as well because we are going to read the contents of the file name. Again, nakapasok siya sa try-catch because if ever that the file does not exist or the file is not accessible, it's going to catch an IO exception or input-output exception, and then it's going to display this error message. Okay? So, tingin na natin dito. Ito kasi yung medyo tricky, guys So, gumamit tayo ng string line because when we are reading using a programming languages, kahit anong language yan, we are reading from the file line by line. Okay? Line by line tayo tumingin ng file. Now, bakit kaya string to? Mamaya makikita natin yan. Okay? So now, nag-display tayo dito ng file content just to separate if ever na gagamitin nila natin si display. Okay? Para malaman lang natin pag nag-output na tayo. So now, we use a while loop, no? Again, while loop, ang ating parameter dito is always a boolean. No? Boolean ang ating parameter dyan. So, baka magtaka kayo, ito kasi si line equals reader.readline is actually not comparison. No? Hindi tayo nagko-compare dito because ang ginamit natin dito is just one equal symbol. Ano pag sabihin ng one equal symbol, guys? Ito yung nag-a-assign lang tayo ng value sa ating line. So, ano pag sabihin yan? Nag-read line tayo using the reader object. Ano pag sabihin? Nagbasa tayo ng unang line doon sa ating file. Okay? Doon sa ating 14.txt, binasa natin si unang line. Let's say again, ito ang laman ng ating file. Nari, ayan ang laman. Okay? So, the first line of the file is hello. Okay, ito yung unang laman. Now, binigay na natin siya kay line. Ayan, string line. Okay, the string line is hello as of now. Ito yung kanyang value now. Okay, so now, gumamit tayo ng comparator dito, which is not equals to null. Sabihin, wala ba siyang laman? Nakaganyan ba siya? Okay, so hindi naman, di ba? Hindi naman siya null. It's not empty. It's not zero. It's not null. Okay, meron siyang laman. It has content. So, ano pag sabihin? Nag-false. Nag-false si null. Since naka-not tayo dito, so ano pag sabihin? It's going to be true. Okay? it's true that the line is not null because hello is not null. 'Di ba? It has value, it has content, it has indexes. Okay, nag-true siya. Now, since nag-true si while loop, kailangan niyang i-output yung line because papasok tayo dito sa statements. So, system.out.println line. Ano ba yung line natin ulit? It's the hello. Okay? It's the hello string. Okay? Now, babalik ulit tayo kay while loop. Anong gagawin niya? Magre-read line ulit siya. Pangalawa na. Okay? Ito na tayo. Okay, so si line natin as of now is world. So, world is not null. Is it true or is it false? So, it's true. Okay, because world has index, it has content, meron siyang laman. Okay, that line has content. Now, ipiprint niya lang yan. Oh, hello world. World na yung ipiprint niya as of now. Ngayon, uulit na naman tayo, babalik na naman tayo dito. Mag-reader.read line siya. Walang laman kasi wala na siyang kasunod. Ang tawag dito sa dulo ay EOL or end of file. Okay? Pakitandaan to guys. Okay? Si EOL natin is end of file. End of EOF. Si EOL natin, si EOL is end of line. Ayan. So, EOF is end of file. Si EOL ay end of line. Okay? So, now, since end of file na siya, wala nang nakalagay dun sa baba nito sa third line, it's null. Okay? So, binigyan natin ng null value si line. Okay? Nag-e-exist para man si string line eh. But now that the value of the string line is null, ang magiging value nito is null is not equal to null. But since null is equal to null, magfo-false siya. Okay? Nag-false. So, while false, hindi na mag-output ang statements inside the while loop. Okay? So, tapos na tayo. Yan. Natapos na natin si display file content. Again, ginagamitan natin siya ng try catch because we are trying to access the file. Okay? Yun lang yung dahilan. Now, ito yung medyo mahirap guys. Alam ko medyo matagal na tong vid. Pero, nandito na tayo sa update part. Okay? So, public void na naman, edit file line. Ginamit natin si line number and then si string new content as parameters. Bakit? Because since we are accessing files through their lines, no, yung line numbers niya, kung saan siya nag-e-exist, kung saan siya makikita. Okay, so kailangan natin ng line number. Ano pa? Siyempre, when we are updating data, we need to get the replacement. Diba? Kailangan alam din natin kung ano yung data na i-replace doon sa gusto mong i-edit na word or isang line. Okay? So, anong gagamitin natin dito? Since we are trying to get the data from the file, we're still going to use the buffered reader. Okay? Gagamitin natin si buffered reader para makuha lang natin yung laman ng file, and then we also instantiated here a string buffer. Okay? Si string buffer is from the name itself, no, nagbabuffer siya and it's in string. Ang pagsabihin niyan, lahat ng laman dito ng buffered reader is going to be inputted dito sa string buffer. Okay? Actually, ginamit ko lang si string buffer dito as a temporary container, no? Ito yung temporary container natin para doon sa mga mareretain natin na content. Okay? Mamaya makikita natin bakit kaya may ganyan. So, of course, gagamit na naman tayo ng string line because we want to access the files, the content of the file. Okay? We also instantiated an integer count is equal to 0 because we always start with 0, but in lines, of course, we start with 1. Okay? So, nag-0 tayo dito, but the increment is at the top of the while loop. Okay? So, anong starting value talaga ni count pagpasok ng while loop? It's 1. Okay? Hindi siya 0. It's 1. Since nag-increment tayo dito, si 0 ay magiging 1. Okay? So again, we use the while loop just as well as the earlier one dun sa display content. Parehas lang yan. Gagamit lang tayo dito ng conditional to test if ever the count, no? Ano ba mang count natin ngayon as of now? Sige. 1 muna tayo. 1 ba is equal to the line number na gusto mong i-edit. Okay? Let's say, ang gusto kong i-edit dun sa hello world ay yung pangalawa. Okay? So, ang binigay kong line number is 2. And then, ang nilagay ko dito sa new content is STI. So, hello STI dapat kakalabasan, right? Okay. So, now, since the count is equal to 1 and the line number is equal to 2 because world yon, no? Si buffer that append yung new content ang ilalagay ko. Okay? Kapag parehas. But, since 1 is not equal to 2, no, magfo-false siya, hindi niya gagawin yun. Okay? Saan siya diretso? Kay else. Dito siya pupunta. Anong gagawin niya? Si buffer natin, si string buffer, which is used as a temporary container, i-append niya yung line. Okay? So, ano yung line natin ngayon? Si hello. Okay? So, in-append niya si hello kay string buffer. And then, nag-append ulit siya. Okay, so again, we can use connecting, no, methods dito sa ating programming language, which is Java. Okay? So, we can use append, and then append again if ever na meron tayong idadagdag. Okay? So, append the line, which is hello, and then we also appended the new line. Okay? So, ano mangyayari? Bababa lang siya. Okay? So, now, aakyat ulit tayo kay while loop because magbabago na yung ating content na kukunin. So, ano ba yung i-read line niya? Yung pangalawa na. Diba? So, world. Now, that the content, no, nagbago na yung ating count, magiging 2 na siya because nag-increment na naman. The count is 2 and the line number is 2 because line number, ang binigay ko dito is 2, mag-i-equal na siya. Diba? Nag-equal na siya eh. Now, magbabuffer that append ako, no? Ang i-append ko dito is not the line itself because ang line natin is world. Ang i-append ko na ay yung parameter na or yung argument na ibinigay ko dito which is STI. Okay? So, STI ang laman nito, in-append niya. Anong kakalabasan dito? STI. Okay? Sticky. Okay. So, in-append niya na yan with the new line. Ano mangyayari? Magaganyan lang ulit dito. Okay? So, now, we're just going to close the reader. Iko-close lang naman natin siya. Okay? Then, after that, we're just going to use the file writer, no, not the buffered writer because we are trying to write the whole content of string buffer. Okay? Ira-write na natin siya kasi kumpleto na siya guys eh. Meron na siyang hello, meron na siyang new line, meron na siyang STI, meron na ulit siyang new line. Okay? So ngayon, si buffer natin which is the string is converted to string lang. Okay? Si string buffer is converted to string. Ni-write natin siya. Ano mangyayari? Si file natin which is the 14.txt na kaninang hello world ay ngayon naging hello STI. Okay? So, ano napansin nyo dito? Si file writer natin, ang kanyang append ay wala. Anong pagsabihin nun? Kapag wala, the default value is false. No? I-rewrite niya lahat ng laman nun. Okay? So, now, we have closed the writer. Tandaan nyo when we are dealing with files, we have to close it as well. No? Same lang siya ng katulad sa docs files, sa Microsoft Offices, na magtataka kayo, bakit kaya kapag kino-close ko yung isang file, kailangan ma-save muna siya. Okay? And if ever, kunyari, si flash drive, gusto mo siyang i-eject. Hindi mo siya ma-eject because the directory is in use as well. No? Ginagamit mo siya eh. Diba? So, of course, when we are dealing with files, no, we have to close them kasi ginagamit pa rin yan ng RAM. Okay? Gumagamit pa rin siya ng RAM. It's still inside the RAM. Now that we closed it, matatanggal na siya sa RAM, may lalagay na siya sa permanent directory. Okay? So now, maglalagay lang tayo dito ng validation that the file or the line number has been edited successfully. Okay? Bakit kaya wala na tayong conditional statement dito? Because we use the try catch. Okay? Gumamit na tayo ng try catch dito na if ever na si file natin is not found, no, hindi natin nakita, it's going to catch the exception agad. Okay? Mag-output na agad siya that the error occurred, no, while editing the file. Okay? So, hindi na siya mag-output. Hindi na mag-output to. Now, how are we going to use it inside the main method? Okay? So, here, we just instantiated, ito yung kanina, we just instantiated the file handler, which is the class name, and then, we created the file. Of course, bawal ka muna mag-display ng file content, bawal ka muna mag-edit ng file, bawal ka muna mag-write ng file, hanggat hindi mo kine-create si file. Okay? Kasi hindi pa nga siya nag-e-exist, di ba? Okay, so now that the file has been created, you can write to the file. You can also display, no? You can also display the content of the file if ever that the file already has content in it. Okay? But as of now, since we just created the file, no? Kailangan mag-write muna tayo ng laman. Because kapag wala siyang laman, wala ka ring ma-display. And then, ngayon, nag-hi, I am Jericho Mark. Yun ang nilagay ko dito. Using the buffered writer. And then, nag-system out print lang ako dito ng line in order to create or to symbolize the new line para bumaba lang siya. And then, ginamit na natin si display file content which was created dito, no, to read inside the file. Okay? Makikita nyo dito, nag-system out print na tayo. Ayan. So, we no longer have to enclose this method sa loob ng system out print. Okay? So, file handler, display file content. Then, again, nag-symbolize tayo dito ng new line using the print line method bago tayo mag-edit ng line number. Okay? So, gusto kong i-edit si 5. Ano ba yung 5 dito? Ito. Okay? So, ito yung 1, ito yung 2, 3, 4, 5. So, 5, and then the new content is mark. We're just going to update mark with C to mark with K only. Okay? So, babaguhin na natin siya. Nalagay na natin siya sa string buffer, and then nirite na natin siya pabalik doon sa ating file. I-display ulit natin siya. Dapat ang lalabas is ito, but the mark should not have C anymore. Okay? Tatanggalin na, mawawala na dapat yung C. Ito dapat yung kakalabasan. Now, nag-create ako dito ng, again, nag-write to file just to know if ever that the file is just appending, no? Nag-a-append lang ba siya instead of rewriting it, no? And then, system out print ulit to display the file content to validate if ever that the content has been written to the file. Okay?